Okay, Remote Leaders Confessions. Let's start with Ali, the co-founder and head of Remote at Publitas. Come on up.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, at the beginning of my IT career, my father never believed I was truly working. He was a mechanical engineer, and looking at me at my computer, he was used to say, "You're just pushing some buttons, maybe playing some games." It took many years for him to be convinced, after providing for myself at a young age, to be convinced. And many generations later, my kids, however, when they see me at my computer, they know and believe he's working. Hey, my daddy's working. That contrast actually gave me a fundamental understanding of different mindsets, different frame of references, and that are, the beliefs that we have been built over many years of experiences throughout our parenting and our work environments. And for my father, the frame of reference was associating work with physical labor. So that was his frame of reference. And there's no judgment for any type of frame of reference or mindset. There's just differences. Now, making the bridge to remote, I prefer to call it location independent, not sexy, but I will explain if you want to. Running remote or any other way is requires a shift in mindset, because it is a different frame of reference that you need for that. And you might be dealing, if you hear like hybrid, going back to the office, you might just be dealing with different people with different frame of mindset. So I needed to learn empathy, and that's what we need to have in this transition. To make the shift, it requires focus and motivation and a lot of practice into shifting the mindset. And we as a company needed to do that by a lot of practice and having a clear goal. And now our goal is that we have with it is to maintain the culture that we have in mind. If you want to know how and why, just tap me and I'm happy to help and explain. Thank you.
Amazing. My parents have no idea what the hell I do. That's right, isn't it? They have no clue. Lavinia, where are you? Ladies and gentlemen, Lavinia from Livit Hub Bali.
Thank you, Danny. I have worked remotely for as long as I can remember. As early as about 15 years ago, I was part of a student NGO called Iosub, and we worked with people from all across the world, different time zones, different cultures, obviously remotely. And I would crouch by the wall in my little dorm room and just bang away at my laptop, sending emails. So the one thing I wish I knew before becoming a remote leader is that adapting to remote work can be a serious transition for many people and should not be underestimated. I wish I knew that someone who never documented a process or a decision or a policy in writing, in clear, concise writing, would need a lot of help to do so. I wish I knew that someone who's used to walking up to their colleagues, interrupting their work to ask for what they need right away, would need to be briefed and trained on the wonders of async and focused work. And I wish I knew that adapting to remote work is going to be such a challenge for many people because it's a whole new operating system. I also wish I knew that in the early 2020s, remote work would become transformed from a superpower acquired by the chosen fans of Basecamp and Tim Ferriss and so on, into a necessity, that it would start making the difference between the chosen, the remote privilege that can work from anywhere and access opportunities from all across the world, and the others, the rest. So that's why I started the Remote Skills Academy, which has in the last few years upskilled and reskilled about 1,000 Indonesians, Thai, and now Filipinos and Hungarians as well, and equip them with remote work and digital skills so that remote work can be part of the only normal they will ever know from the get-go, just like it was for me. remote work is maybe the biggest and the best equalizer the world has seen in a very long time. And the future is already here. It's just not very evenly distributed. Should we make it so?
Thank you. High five. Thank you, Lavinia. Matteo Lombardi, founder at Ultimate Beauty. Talk us through it.
Thank you. Hi. I'm a founder of an e-commerce company that has been growing 200% year over year for the last 3 years. We came from a bit under 7 figures to about 20 million in revenue. And I thought a lot about how did we get here? I spent all my Mondays, no Slack, no meetings, just thinking about how did we get here? How do we get to the next place? And in the beginning of April, so we got here by, of course, hiring great people. And my wife runs a recruiting company, Alina, she's in the audience. And that helped us a lot finding really, really great people. But at the beginning of April 2022, I noticed that the company was growing slower. We were growing at about 70% year over year, and I liked it 200% more. So I was thinking, what is missing? And I was in a mastermind talking about a couple of roles I wanted to hire, but I wasn't sure we were ready for it financially. And a guy told me, hire for value and not for cost. And I was thinking, that's really interesting, hire for value and not for cost. And then suddenly I realized that when I was thinking on the budget of who I wanted to hire, I was looking backwards and seeing, this is how much I can spend based on how much profit we had so far. But if I think forward for the next 12 months, what is the value I'm hoping this person is going to bring to the company, then it's a whole different thing. It's a whole different amount of salary that I can afford. And if that person is going to help me bring the value, then it's worth it. And so I made 2 of the most expensive hires I had done so far. And it was a developer and the head of supply chain, head of operations, which came from head of supply chain of IKEA. And with these 2 people, in only 4 months, we doubled the company. And then we grew a little bit more. We came back to 200% year over year. And we're currently at 250% year over year growth. Thank you. And so now I'm looking, who is this next hire, and what is the value that I think they can bring to us? Thank you.
Excellent. Excellent, Matteo. Hire for value, not for cost. I love that. Morgan, head of organizational change at Convert, straight out of Montreal.
All righty, let's get a little serious here. My hands were really, really sweaty, and my mouth was pasty, and my heart was beating so fast. And it was only day 6, and it wasn't supposed to be like that. This company was supposed to be different. They had values. I had decided a long time ago that to do my most transformative work, I had to bring my whole self to work. And I got a trial by fire when I moved to the Midwest of the US. Think Florida with lousy weather. And as a gay woman living there, you get really well versed in what we call the family values dog whistle. That's language that sounds really wholesome, but is actually anti-woman, anti-gay, and anti-choice. So I'm in day 6, and I'm just absolutely flabbergasted. I'm in this call with our AE, and he's so excited. We're just getting to know each other, and he tells me we've got this big 6-figure deal. We're a team of 5, we're scrappy, it's small. And he tells me who it is. I'm not telling you. And my stomach dropped. There was no way that I was going to stay there if they kept this customer. No way. I was day 7. I ran a meeting with our 5 people, and I knew in my head that if they said yes, they were going to pick money over values, I was going to give my notice at that moment. Too much time to waste about maybe and compromising. No. And I told them who these people were, who this organization was. And they were horrified. They couldn't believe that they were about to have their tool used to optimize websites to transfer this message to the world. They said, no, absolutely no. That's not who we are. It's not who we want to be. And so in year 7, now, I can tell you that we have done amazing work that allows people through all lines of our business to do experimentation, to fail because it's safe enough to try. And I ask you, what are you telling your employees? What are you showing them? Don't mistake silence for indifference. You have to walk the talk. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. I wanted a hug. Yeah, sweaty palms, bad taste, day 6. It's like my first trip to Berghain in Berlin, you know? Sorry, Morgan, I had to roll with that one. Speaking of Valentina, the Empress of Remote, best dressed winner here at Remote Prom. Welcome,
Thank you,
Valentina.
Andy. Oh, I have 2 minutes and 2 seconds. I'm going to use that. So, hello, everyone. So in Spain, they say, ojos que no veo, corazón que no siente. And I prefer that to the English one because it translates as out of sight, out of heart. And I really like that, heart over mind. So for companies, for you as an individual to be successfully remote, you need to be seen. Because if no one sees you, no one remembers you, well, unless you wear a tiara, then maybe they do. And no one will actually be able to help you out in the future. So as a company and as a remote leader, you need to help your people to be seen. And not just that, you need to be able to help them to be seen, to be visible, to be recognized within the company and outside the company. And I see this as the holy trinity of remote careers, maybe. So as a leader, first, recognize who's doing the work and actually recognize when things are getting done. Celebrate them, call them out, and attribute who's doing the work. Because it's not always the person who is on the schedule, the one who ran the meeting, or the product manager who was supposed to run the product, who actually was involved. Call them out positively, praise them. So we have recognition, attribution, and then visibility. The visibility part needs to be outside and inside the company. So help your team to be visible inside and outside, which can be LinkedIn, which can be Instagram. There's no better employer branding than your employers talking about you in a positive way. So help them do that. There's also no better way to figure out who's a good people manager maybe in the future, who might be a good sales leader, than seeing how they actually act in public, hopefully in your company's positive light. And then as a leader, you need to be a little bit more specific even. It's not enough to tell people, hey, maybe you should share your work a little bit more, but actually to have processes in place that help your people to show their work, to share their work. That can be like a Geekbot reminder or a weekly update on a Trello board or whatever, but make it part of your processes and part of your communication policies. And then help people to do this regularly, because your team's success is your success. You'll look out for them. Thank you.
Thank you so much. The Holy Trinity. I like that one. I had to take a picture of it. From Ergeon, Alina, you ready?
Yeah. Kindness is one of our 3 core company values. So we spend some time defining it. Being nice is when you do something because you think you have to. Kindness takes courage, and it comes from a place of truly wanting to invest in other people. Let me give you some examples of how we think about it. Benefit of the doubt. In remote work, it's easy to miss communications. We don't have some of the context clues we have in person, like body language, for example. Embrace emojis on Slack and your text communication to show your intent. Lead by example and step up and ask someone first, hey, are you doing okay? This type of empathy can really drive social connection even when we're not in person. What about being fair? Document your people policies, publish them, think of the edge cases, and stick to them. Never ask a manager to make a subjective decision about whether something's inside or outside of a rule. Publish your career ladders. Don't negotiate on pay. Trust is hard to build remotely, and even small cracks in this can have a huge impact. What about positivity? Foster positive feedback on your team. Build ways for people to be able to share this. Demo your wins weekly in a meeting. Have a day where you just blow up a Slack channel with all kinds of kudos. Lead by example and wildly share positive feedback on your team. And most importantly, have the courage to call someone out when they're not being kind. How do we solve hard problems and build culture on a company of 400 people in 47 different countries? We're a tech company, we're a construction company. We have people of wildly different backgrounds working together with different skill sets. Fence installers in the field working with software engineers. We have sales reps working with architects, and we don't do company meetups. It is about creating norms at work about how we treat each other. I know we've heard a lot about communication and async and AI this week, but I would argue that a culture of kindness can be that much more impactful, especially during times of change. Thanks.
Thank you, Alina. Thank you, Alina. Yeah, when I thought about first going into startups, I never thought I would work with people that would be so nice. Nitin, you ready from Airmeet? Round of applause for their director of events.
Thank you, Danny. All right, the clock has already started kicking. All right, so I was told that this is story time. So I have a short story for you. Once upon a time, there was this entrepreneur. Let's call him Buddy, right? Now, Buddy wanted to get out of the 9 to 5, right? The basic routine that everyone is told that office is like this. You have to start at 9, end at 5. So he was a bit of non-conformist, right? He wanted to break out of that routine somehow, but could not. So and then he got to hear about remote year, right? I guess everyone is aware about remote year, a remote work program. So he did apply to that, but could not get a seat, and so challenged. He felt a bit challenged, and he started his own program. So why not? He started a remote life, a quarter version of the similar program, and things went well for him, right? He integrated it backwards, started peddling remote work culture, using online conferences similar to this, right? But obviously, things went well till then, but now he was losing the grip on time, on productivity, as it started to scale, right? He was not able to do a lot of things that he wanted to do, but he was a stubborn person. So he wanted to challenge that again. So what did he do? He started realizing that it's not about the decision to live the remote life. It's also about making it happen. And how to make it happen? He had to build habits, rituals, routines to make it happen. And because he realized one special thing, it won't be the big decisions of his life, but his daily habits that will ensure what is the life that he is going to live. So that started, he realized it, and started documenting all his activities, started noticing patterns every day, that things that energize him, routines, rituals, and teams for his personal lives, for travel. So he started noticing those patterns and created rituals for his teams, like Wednesday, camera on Wednesdays, right? Writing everything before getting into a meeting, or maybe not having any meeting without any agenda. So these small changes in the team ensured that he is able to get back the time that he is losing on these things. Point is, it was a big, harsh reality for him because he wanted to cut out of the routines. But he realized it's not about the routines. Breaking free from 9 to 5 routine was just the first step. The harsh reality was he wanted his own routines, right? A flexible routine, which he has built on his own. It was never about that he didn't want to be in the box. He just wanted to be in the box that he created himself for his own personal life experience. And no points for guessing, I am Buddy.
Very well said. A sort of plot twist at the end, huh? Succession or something. No spoilers. Claire Donald.
So over the last few years, we've seen companies all around the world trying to figure out how this new world of work works for them. Amongst all of this, hybrid has become a dirty word. It comes with connotations that are negative, of forcing people back to the office and mandating working conditions. However, there are many companies that simply cannot work fully remote, or choose not to do so. We heard yesterday from the Future Forum that 2/3 of people actually want some form of flexible hybrid. And there are many, many companies out there that are being way more progressive, mine included, who are embracing remote work principles and creating some really cool hybrid organisations. So what do I wish I knew before I became a remote leader in this type of setting? Well, really, hybrid is pretty darn hard, arguably harder than going fully remote. You've got to think about everything at least 3 times and how they all work together. In fully remote companies, there are often dedicated roles or dedicated teams to figuring all this stuff out. And there's loads of best practices being shared out there that's been created by all of your lot. However, for hybrid companies, this isn't quite the case just yet. And we should be celebrating and sharing the best practices from hybrid companies as well, instead of looking down our nose at them. So what's the one piece of advice I would give to a remote leader who's working in a hybrid organisation? One size doesn't fit all. Don't treat everybody the same. You need to consider all the different employee experiences inside your organisation and make sure nobody feels like a second-class citizen. Analyse all the roles in your company and be really clear on why they are office, hybrid, or remote. Then create unique employee value propositions for each one, making everybody feel special. I think the Running Remote community has an obligation to help hybrid companies to be the best version of themselves. And together, we can push the boundaries and create the best hybrid organisations alongside all the amazing fully remote ones. Thank you.
Terrific. Terrific. Where's Joana? From Deloitte, Portugal. We got a smart one here, folks. She's been a member of the Running Remote community and family for a long time. Joana Afonso.
Thank you, Danny. Thank you all. I'm very proud to be here, very happy. I remember when someone told me it was Gonzalo to go to Running Remote in Canada on purpose, I would learn about remote work. So I decided to follow his advice and I went to Montreal on purpose, so more difficult than just stay here in Lisbon this year. And I thought, okay, I'm going to learn a lot of things that won't apply to my work reality because I work in a company that has, some days at the office, the story. So what I realized is that I learned a lot of things that finally could be applicable to my reality. So I was kind of surprised because all those principles and ways of work bring transparency, bring accountability, bring also clarity, organization to people. And sometimes it's more inclusive because we have this intentionality of communicating, of having everything organized and not living by chance, right? So I was really relieved that my investment of going to Running Remote in Canada was so useful, not only for me, but also for my work in the company that I work. So I think the big surprise here and what is useful is that remote work principles are really useful for hybrid and even office-first organizations. Why? Because it brings flexibility. As much as we work asynchronous and we can follow up later, and being an event like this today, I can follow up and have more flexibility. And nowadays, what people want is flexibility, right? So employee engagement is driven by the power and the feeling that they have the choice of their life and their work. So remote work principles are really friendly also for hybrid organizations and office-first organizations. Thank you.
Yep, hand that one off. Wayne Robertson, Operations Director at YPO.
Who knew that there was a community of like-minded peers and thought leaders who were passionate about remote working and leading distributed teams? I certainly didn't know that when I first joined my 100% role in a 100% distributed team 7 years ago. And now my notes have disappeared. I'd always dreamed about working remotely. I loved the idea of integrating work and family and hobbies into my day. Sorry, keeps doing that. Not to mention taking my little dash on for 2 walks a day in the park, really important to me. I don't think I was ever really onboarded into what it would feel like to work in a remote team, a distributed team. And my initial excitement was soon tempered with the realities of communicating, collaborating, leading, trying to solve documentation issues with people all around the world when they weren't in the same time zone as me. To be honest, it felt a little overwhelming and lonely at times, trying to understand and let alone solve for the problems and challenges of leading a remote team. Living like I do in Australia, the pain is acute. I regularly have calendar invites for 2 a.m. calls. I also work alone for about 75% of my day because the rest of my team are offline. So if things aren't documented or communicated or clarified, no one's online for me to try and find the answers. It can be a real challenge. Until recently, I wasn't even aware of concepts like async work and all the tools that you can use to help manage them. About a year ago, I found a LinkedIn post from Darren Murph about the need for a head of remote role in a distributed organization. And bingo, the lights went on. I suddenly began this huge journey of discovery. I was really excited to see the running remote in Montreal last year, but Australia was still in lockdown. And here I am today, overwhelmed and loving all of the collective thought leadership, and really pleased to know that I'm not alone on this journey. Thank you.
Stay up here. Let's bring up the whole crew from the community. Come on, everybody. Come on up. And do you hear that? Kasia, 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 Kasia. Woo! The Running Remote community is run by Kasia. And all of these individuals are members of the community. We hope that you'll join and be a part of Remote Confessions next year. Kasia, just tell us, what do we do in the community?
Hey, first of all, I wanted to thank them all. They've done an amazing job, and I'm super proud. And what kind of job I have? I think I have the best job here. I get to connect with them, learn from them every day. It's not just once a year. The conference is like a retreat for us to meet once a year, but we actually do that every day. So we've got founders, people ops executives, and heads of remote who are doing that on a daily basis. They pretty much support themselves. I actually don't need to do anything. They do it themselves. So please join, and if you're interested, just talk to me. And also, I wanted to say, we didn't force Wayne to talk about community as his advice. It was his own idea.
Excellent. Let's hear it once more for the Running Remote community.